Hi, I'm Alan Smith. You know, gardens are about a lot more than the trees, shrubs, and flowers we grow. They're about life, and there's so many different forms of life you can have in a garden. For instance, I love these little black cochin bantams. I consider them living garden ornament. You know, animals can add color, beauty, even fun, in addition to practical benefits. In today's show, we'll take a look at some of the animals and insects that we can enjoy in our gardens, like birds, butterflies, fish, chickens, and elephants. Well, maybe elephants are a stretch for our gardens, but I'll take you to an elephant sanctuary where the idea of using animals in the garden is being taken to another level. Find out why ladybugs, earthworms, and toads shouldn't be overlooked as friends in the garden. Plus, we'll take a look at ways to keep some unwanted visitors out of the garden. There's so much in today's show, so stick around for Animals in the Garden. I'm always looking for ways to make my little piece of the earth, my garden, a better place. One of the ways I do this is to invite certain visitors. That is, visitors that are helpful, like toads. I know that a toad has a face that only a mother could love, but did you know that one toad can eat from 10 to 20,000 insects a year? You can welcome toads to your garden by offering them a source of water. A garden pool at ground level is the perfect place for them to lay eggs and produce the next generation of toads, and the tadpoles are fun to watch. And housing for the adult toads is equally important. Toad houses can be as elaborate as this bronze garden ornament, or as simple as a broken pot partially buried in the soil. Even as whimsical as this little toad house I'm placing here in my shade garden. You have to take housing the toads seriously when you consider they can live from 4 to 15 years. Talk about a lot of insect control they can provide. And that whole wives' tale about getting warts from handling toads, well, it's just that. It's a wives' tale. It's not true at all. But what you should know about handling toads, well, here's one right here, is that they secrete a substance from behind their ears that's poisonous. And you see, this tastes bad in the mouths of predators. So when you handle them, you should always wash your hands. You know, the garden is about a lot more than just beautiful flowers and plants. It's really about life. I'm always trying to attract different forms of life to my garden. Now, we're all familiar with attracting butterflies and birds. They add so much grace and color. Over the years, I've discovered that the garden can become even more alive by employing the help of some little garden helpers, like these bantam chickens. These are the pint-sized members of the chicken family. Since they're so small, they really can't do much damage to the garden. They also provide benefits, like eliminating insects, and, well, their droppings can certainly make my plants grow. And they're just a lot of fun to have around to watch. Now let's take a look at another garden helper that's just as colorful. Goldfish are some of the easiest garden pets to care for. It's much more convenient for me to keep them in my garden pool rather than an aquarium or fish bowl. And what a service they provide. They eat mosquito larvae, and their waste fertilizes my water plants. And if you have a water feature, you might consider keeping a few ducks around. They can be a lot of fun for children. And they'll also eat slugs, snails, and even Japanese beetles. And of course, who could forget the honeybee? I don't guess you can really call them pets, but what a benefit they provide to my garden in the way of pollination, and of course, the delicious honey. Now, for more information on many of these garden helpers, just check out my website. That's PAlansmith.com. Right now, I want to take you to a special place in central Arkansas where they take this idea of animals in the garden to another level. Hi, Scott. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about what you do here at Riddles Elephant Sanctuary.
Well, this is a sanctuary specifically for elephants. It's the only facility in the United States, probably the Western world, that gives homes to any elephant that needs one for any reason.
Well, they're fantastic. Hey, girls.
This is Peggy, and this is Mary, and this is Betty Boop. We call her Booper. They're Asian females.
Well, I can see they all have distinct personalities.
Yes, they do, and distinctive looks once you get used to them. They all look a little different, just like human beings do.
On the first Saturday of the month, families can come out and see the elephants. What do?
We have folks here that give them tours, and if they bring fruit and vegetables, they can stand back from a distance and throw it to them and feed them. We just want people to be interested in the survival of elephants, because education is the key, especially with children. We really need to take the plight of the elephant to the people, but also we need to take the importance of captive elephants, because the captive elephants are going to be the ones that save the wild elephants, because this is where all the educational things are done, all the research is done to save the wild ones. So it's a great cooperative effort that's being put on between the captive elephants and the wild elephants and everybody that's involved with them. And we're a big part of that. We're very proud of it.
So we've got Peggy and Mary and Betty Boop.
Correct.
And how much would one of these girls weigh?
Peggy's the largest of these three. She weighs close to 9,000 pounds. The other two weigh about 8,000 pounds apiece.
Gosh.
So they carry their weight well, though.
With the interest in organic farming, I know many zoos across the country were producing products, some called Zoo Do, where they use the waste from the animals to work into the garden. What do you do with your own special Zoo Do here at Riddles?
Elephant manure is great fertilizer. It's tremendously good fertilizer. We spread it on all of our pastures. We have 330 acres here, and we have close to about 200 of that is pasture. So we spread it on about 14 or 15 spreader loads a day on our grass, and it has improved the pastures tremendously. We haven't had to use any kind of commercial fertilizer at all.
Well, Scott, thank you so much for having me here at the sanctuary today.
Well, thanks for coming up. You can come up and get some fertilizer anytime you want.
I appreciate it. Thanks for what you're doing for animal conservation.
Thank you.
We'll search the soil and sky for animals in the garden right after this. Each spring when my garden is full of glorious bloom, it's a reminder to me of the bounty of nature. It also reminds me that it's time to start dealing with pests. I'm always looking for earth-friendly approaches to dealing with problems in the garden. When it comes to insects, one of my favorite philosophies is to fight fire with fire, so to speak, pitting good bugs against bad bugs. Let me give you an example. This is a whole platoon of ladybugs. These little gals are considered beneficial insects for what they can do for us in the garden. You see, they've developed quite a reputation over the years as having quite an appetite for aphids. But ladybugs just don't stop here. They also enjoy eating scale, mealybugs, as well as mites. I know it's hard to believe, but there's an army of over 1,500 ladybugs in this container. Now, I won't release all of them today. I'll wait a few days before I send in the second wave. Soon, these adult ladybugs will lay eggs and larvae will hatch. Now, the larvae look like tiny black alligators with orange spots. It's important to identify them. The main thing to remember when using beneficial insects in your garden is to not use pesticides. You see, the pesticides will kill the bad bugs as well as the good ones. If you'd like more information on organic approaches to gardening, just check out my website. That's pallensmith.com. As gardeners, there's only so much we can do to improve the soil, and then it's up to Mother Nature and her team of garden helpers, like this little guy, the earthworm. Not only do they till the soil, but they also provide it with a rich, all-natural fertilizer in the form of castings. That's why Chris Gibson and his wife, Paige Sugar, started Fibakna, an organic farm dedicated to earth-friendly solutions, including producing earthworm casting fertilizer.
But earthworms benefit the soil in several ways, especially in your garden. They aerate the soil. They allow water to percolate down and get to the roots of your plants. They also turn over your soil, and as we said, they produce castings in the ground, so that adds immediate fertilizer to the soil as well.
Our method of vermiculture is called the modular method, in that we grow our worms in buckets, individual containers, as opposed to bed harvesting.
So we always know exactly how many worms we have at all times, which is the greatest benefit. We keep a tighter control on it.
We end up with two sellable products. Actually, the worms themselves for folks to introduce into their gardens or their compost piles or their vermicomposting bins. And then we also have the castings, which are an excellent nutrient source. It's an all-purpose fertilizer.
One way to use worm castings is to top dress your plants. You put it on the top of your plants, and when you water it, the nutrients filter down and percolate into the roots of your soil. Another method is to repot your plants. Usually we like to use about 1/3 castings to 2/3 part potting soil. Side dress row crops in your garden is one of the best ways, especially with in large fields. You can just place it right on your crops.
While earthworms are tremendous garden helpers, they're also a delicacy for birds. Olga Clifton has been interested in birds for 20 years, and her South Louisiana backyard has become a haven for many species.
We have lived here and our yard has evolved into many things, from something that looked like the cover of Better Homes and Gardens to a wildlife habitat of what it's turned into now. We have lots of non-native plants, but also lots of native plants that attract birds into our yard. So this is the world we have created for ourselves. When we lose habitat down here, then the birds that normally rest and forage and fatten up here can't make it. These birds don't have this habitat. Without green belts that allow these birds to use them as highways from my area into other areas of the United States, there'll be no more birds. Their numbers are dwindling, and we think it's because of the destruction of habitat. You know, we can't just keep taking and taking and taking from the earth. We have to think about the other creatures that live here.
As you can see, Olga's approach to caring for the birds is centered around understanding and establishing sustainable habitat for them. Her involvement with the Nature Conservancy and the Audubon Society over the years has truly made a difference in her part of the world. Speaking of the Nature Conservancy, you can get to their website by visiting me at pallensmith.com. There you'll also find information about today's show, as well as a list of plants that you can grow in your own garden to attract birds. Up next, chickens are treated royally in England, and a traveling farm pulls into a state fair near you. Welcome back. In today's show, we're exploring the benefits of having animals in the garden. Now, this is certainly one of the kings of the animal kingdom. This is Mary. She's an Asian elephant, and she's found a home here at Riddles Elephant Sanctuary in Greenbrier, Arkansas. Now, you may be asking, what do elephants have to do with the garden? Well, if you look at planet Earth as one large garden, you can begin to see how elephants or any other living creature fits in. The manure from the elephants is collected and then spread on fields, which is where the hay will be grown to feed the elephants throughout the winter. In my own garden, I raise bantam chickens for much the same reason. These pint-sized members of the chicken family are on a more manageable scale for my garden, and they're a great source of fertilizer that's rich in nitrogen. During a visit to England, I enjoyed sharing my passion for poultry with the Duchess of Devonshire at Chatsworth. Now, Chatsworth is more than just a stately home. The Duke and Duchess have turned the grounds of the estate into a gardener's paradise with over 100 acres of gardens to enjoy. I particularly enjoyed the Whimsical cottage garden where some of the Duchess's chickens reside.
I've always had chickens there. I'd be lost without them. I think our gardener's the only gardener who would allow chickens in his garden, but he's sort of used to them, so he doesn't mind. But the cochins are all right because they don't like getting their feathers wet.
I think they're one of the most humorous of the breeds because they look like they're wearing pajamas running across the lawn.
They do indeed. They look amazing, and people stop and think, goodness, got out somewhere. Of course, they're completely free. They can go where they like.
I kind of look at chickens as moving garden ornament.
That's exactly right. I think in a garden this size, you've got to have something alive as well as all the plants and the trees, and the chickens do give a bit of movement.
They do, yeah. Your Grace, it seems as though you have some fun with the garden. I'm thinking specifically of the cottage garden.
I know it's very whimsical. I'm afraid it's very whimsical, but it's quite funny. You'll see people arriving there and staring at it, and they just stare, and then suddenly they start laughing and getting out their cameras.
They begin to get it and see all the details. I mean, like the fire in the fireplace.
And the Tiffany lamps by the bed, we've never seen them, but they're children's umbrellas with ivy growing up.
Oh, I love the canopy bed.
Good. What else have we got? Dressing table. And the floor is made, the carpet is made of thyme.
And the table is set with begonias.
That's right, that's a tablecloth, meant to be. And it has all come to now. It took a little while, it looked ridiculous for a long time, but everything does in a garden, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, you have to be patient and have, you just give it some time and
That's
for
right.
it to develop and mature. We've all heard, or for that matter, even said, kids these days have no idea where their food comes from. Well, some people are doing something about that. Connie Boger with Animal Specialties has a mission, and it's to give children an opportunity to learn about farm livestock and have some fun.
Animal Specialties was born because I grew up on a farm and had farm opportunities and animal opportunities that children don't have an opportunity to do today. So we put this on the road as an educational, hands-on experience for children.
What are the kinds of things children learn when they come to your display?
First of all, they get to feel animals, they get to touch, they get to have that farm experience of getting to see how a goat feels or how a cow's udder feels when they get to actually milk the cow, and to know that the milk is really warm when it comes out of the cow. When you walk into our displays, you can see everything from milk cows, dairy cows, beef cows, goats, sheep, donkeys, the poultry part of the industry, the sheep part of the industry, just anything that you might see on the farm.
What's the most popular exhibit?
The most popular exhibit, I would say, would be the hands-on cow milking and the chicken hatching. The kids really get a kick out of being able to milk the cow.
This exhibit isn't just for children. It's for any adult who may have forgotten where the cream comes from for their morning coffee.
Good job, Alan.
Thanks, Connie. Now that was fun. Coming up after the break, I'll share some thoughts on keeping a certain animal out of the garden. So don't go away. There are some creatures we welcome into our gardens, like bumblebees. These pollinators and many others have found a home in the garden of salvia enthusiast Betsy Klepsch. But Betsy tells us that in planning her California garden, she had to keep in mind other wildlife.
I had to think of all of the animals that live here and have lived here for a long time before I moved in. And the deer, we found a way to take care of that predation with a very low 4-foot high fence. But it's a double fence and there's 5 feet between it, and they never want to jump.
Now there are many plants that deer won't eat. For instance, butterfly bush. While it will attract some beautiful visitors to your garden, it shouldn't attract deer. And barberry has the perfect defense with its sticky thorns. You'd think something as fragrant as a lilac would attract deer, but they don't seem to go for it. And deer don't like most plants with aromatic foliage, like lavender and artemisia, or many herbs like dill, rosemary, and thyme. They also don't like plants with fuzzy foliage, like lamb's ear, black-eyed Susan, or foxglove. And they don't seem to care for daffodils or any member of the narcissus family. For a list of plants that deer seem to avoid, log on to my website. That's PAllenSmith.com.
A great companion to P. Allen Smith Gardens is our website, PAllenSmith.com. Log on to learn more about today's topic. You'll also get hands-on gardening tips, design ideas, lessons in garden history, delicious recipes, and crafts projects that will take you from season to season. All beautifully illustrated with thousands of colorful images that will inspire your creativity. Plus, don't miss Allen's free monthly newsletter delivered straight to your inbox. All just a mouse click away at PAllenSmith.com.
From the tiniest insects to the largest mammals, animals add so much life to our gardens. I hope you've enjoyed today's show. And remember, for more information on feeding birds or raising chickens, check out my website. That's pallansmith.com. Until next time, from the garden, I'm Alan Smith.
In this garden I dream of a bed of flowers. Bluebirds sing of the beauty all around us. And every time the sun comes out, I can't help but smile. Oh, no, I can't help but smile.